Serapeum, low-cost, scalable hydroponics. So, if there's any undercover operatives here, rest assured you are a plant and I am aware of it. But pun aside, let's continue. So, that's a Greco-Egyptian god from the Hellenistic period called Serapis, who was a god of wealth and agriculture and a couple of other interesting things. He was kind of a hybrid of some of the Hellenistic, some of the Greek, and some of the Egyptian elements. But there's a couple of relevant elements that I'm going to be presenting on right now. So, problem is regular hydroponics require a lot of electricity, space, and overhead, right? Batteries and external power are relatively bulky and costly. And these energy limitations affect the scalability. Likewise, some of the rate-limiting steps are the plants themselves. Photosynthesis isn't as efficient as it could be, and even visible light as we know it isn't necessarily the best thing for the whole process to continue. So one thing that a couple of breakthroughs in separate areas could change this when integrated together. For example, there's a bacteria called Geobacter sulfurducens that produces protein nanowires that can harvest electrical energy from ambient humidity. These are low cost and they benefit from a large surface area. Unlike photovoltaics, they can be cheaply mass produced, or at least they don't result in toxic landfill, and they don't require constant sunlight. But how do you make something like this compact and practical? Likewise, light wavelength can also affect growth. Blue LEDs have been shown to repeatedly increase growth relative to standard sunlight. A lot of the applications for these blue and purple and ultraviolet LEDs has largely been in vertical farming applications. And photosynthesis itself is a non-optimized process. Reported gains have hacked photosynthesis mostly by modifying a enzyme called Rubisco, and reported gains of up to 30% and even 40% for some staple crops around the world. So the method I'm proposing is stacking some of the nanowire cells on top of each other like this, and using this in the hydroponics wastewater line. You generate about 0.5 volts for every 7 micrometer film. So each outflow in the hydroponic system essentially becomes a power generating conduit, enough to run pumps and some substantial equipment. Because the proteins themselves degrade after a couple of months, you might need to replace them. But other researchers have reported that if you just cycle them out, allow them to recharge, you can keep these things, the same cells, active for years as long as you alternate them in and out at 2 or 3 month intervals. So essentially, this electrogill, as I call it, will be used to power purple and blue LEDs, which are the most energy intensive of LEDs outside of lasers. And you would integrate these with crops that have boosted photosynthesis. You start off on staple and cash crops, so you can free up a lot of lands that might otherwise be used for factory farming or more conventional time and space consuming agricultural methods. So conclusions. Energy from the air can be harvested with low cost organic materials, a bacteria that literally grows in pond scum. It can work with other technologies to help scale hydroponics, and it can help make local food production scalable and sustainable, especially for countries and regions that don't have a lot of arable land. That's why vertical farming is very popular, say, in a lot of Asian countries that don't have a lot of arable land, like Korea or Japan, for instance. So some references, and happy to take any questions.